Good morning. Namaste. Welcome to morning satsang today. Let us start with a prayer as always. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Babaji, Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Gurudeva, Paramhansa Yogananda ji, saints and sages of all religions, dear friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow at thy feet. Dear Father, Heavenly Father, we are made in thine image. Naughty or good, we are thy children. Give us the gift of wisdom, happiness, health, bliss. Help us to perceive thy will for us. Help us to attune our human will with thy divine will. We are thine, be thou eternally ours. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we'll start with a couple of chants. First, hymn to Brahma. Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Brahmananda, Paramasukkhada, Kevalam Jnanamurte, Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham, Tatvamasyadivaksham, Ekam Nitya Vimalamachala Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguణarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Tvameva Mata च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धु च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव.
The next chant is listen, listen, listen.
Listen, listen, listen to my song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I
This next chant is Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves, all the doors do open themselves, all the lights do light themselves. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Darkness like a dark bird flies away, oh flies away. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple?
Taking these chants into our hearts, opening our hearts out to the divine. Let's meditate for a few minutes. This is a short meditation, so let's dive deep into this right from the start.
we continue being inward, let us do this affirmation given by Swamiji in the book Self Affirmation, Affirmation for Self Healing. This affirmation is for acceptance. Swamiji writes, one of the most difficult lessons in life is to learn to accept things as they are. How much energy we waste in trying to wish away the inevitable. If only this hadn't happened. If only we had reached there on time. The if onlys and might have beens in life keep us from dealing realistically with what is. Acceptance comes from knowing that reality lies within ourselves and that all else is a dream. Acceptance of that one reality makes everything else acceptable. Instead of learning to come to grips with 1,000 individual challenges, therefore, make the supreme effort to accept God unconditionally into your heart. Accept all that comes to in life as coming from His hands. He will give you what is best for you if you live for Him alone. Now let's do this affirmation. First we say this loudly. I accept with calm impartiality whatever comes my way. Free from my heart, free in my heart, I am not conditioned by any outward circumstance. I accept with calm partiality whatever comes my way. Free in my heart, I am not conditioned by any outward circumstance. Now more softly, I accept with calm impartiality whatever comes my way. Free in my heart, I am not conditioned by any outward circumstance. Whispering, I accept with calm impartiality whatever comes my way. Free in my heart, I am not conditioned by any outward circumstance. Now I will say it out loud. Continuing to close your eyes, gazing into the spiritual eye. Follow this mentally. I accept with calm impartiality whatever comes my way. Free in my heart, I am not conditioned by any outward circumstance. Planting this into the superconscious mind. Let's pray together. I will say it out. You follow this mentally. Shine thy delusion cauterizing light into the hidden nooks of my heart's feelings, lest somewhere, without my conscious knowledge, I have not accepted thee. If ever I err, strengthen me to accept thy discipline, for in thy will alone lies the happiness I am seeking. Om Shanti Shanti. Now I invite Urvi and Shashank to do the readings.
Reading from Whispers from Eternity. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast, nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises, loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams with threads of memories, then on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. Every night, in time of deepest sleep, my peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, joy. And my joy comes singing evermore, God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any, God, God, God.
This next reading is from the essence of Bhagavad Gita, as explained by Master Paramahansa Yogananda and as remembered by Swami Kriyananda. God is conscious of every thought, every flicker of feeling in every single one of his creatures, yet he stands apart from it all. Even in the story of the Bhagavad Gita, although Krishna served Arjuna as his charioteer, his condition for doing so was that he would take no part in the battle. Arjuna knew that the god's mere presence was enough. And in fact, Krishna did intervene in a sense when the need became crucial. The same is the case when a devotee lives for God and in the thought of him. God never intervenes openly, yet somehow everything comes out right in the end for the devotee. Indeed, it comes out in the best possible way. As Krishna stated, Arjuna, know this for a certainty, my devotee is never lost. God created the universe in order that he might enjoy himself through many. That enjoyment can seem very long delayed to the ego. No one who has ever found God, however, has ever said accusingly, he didn't have to do it that way. Everyone has rather said, ah, it was well worth every seeming pain and difficulty. The story of every life is thrilling, beautiful, and completely satisfying in its ending for every soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Purvi and Shashank, for those beautiful readings. So, this last month, especially in India, has been a particularly testing time with many near and dear ones suffering, a lot of people losing their battle of life, their family and friends trying desperately to save them, standing by, watching them just leave. People, there was this palpable fear all around. People were wondering, where is this all leading to? What is happening? What is going to happen now? Why me? When especially people who were going through that, why me? And the newspapers and the news channels were painting very gory picture of what is happening, what is to be expected, what is going to come. So in all this, the thought comes like, what are these challenges that keep coming up, these tests that keep coming up all the time? Paramahansa Yogananda said that these tests don't come to punish you or break you. The tests are there because these are some unlearned lessons, some unfinished business. Energy that we have put out in the past, maybe in some other reincarnation or in this lifetime, comes back. It has to, every energy that we put out, the cause that we have done, has to come back. The effect comes back till we learn the lessons. They will keep coming back till we learn the lessons. That is what it is, karma. And then there are these individual karmas, the family karmas, group karmas, country karma, mass karma. But everything is, every inner, and Master said, every inner and outer circumstance that is there, that presents itself to you, is because of something you have put out, and it is coming back. So accept everything, that this is coming as for my next unfoldment, that this is some lesson I need to learn. We might not understand what it is. And this mass karma, this time especially, has been unprecedented. The whole human race on this planet has been affected in some way or the other. But isn't that what the job of Maya, the delusion? This is her job, to keep us so caught up in this ups and downs, in the happiness and then despair, going up and down all over again. And this time especially, the whole human race has been caught up. She has done her job superbly in the way she would want to. There's the story of Narada. Narada was a devotee. He was a saint who was the bhakt of Narayan. So one day, Narayan and Narada were walking, and Narada says, I don't understand how people are so caught up in Maya. Why can't they spend all their time like the way I do? I keep chanting Narayana, Narayana all day. Why can't they do it? Can you explain? So Narayana says, yes, of course I can explain. But you know what? Right now I'm very thirsty. Narada, can you go and get me some water? So there was a small village where they were seeing. He says, definitely, Lord, I will go and get you water. Narada goes away, and the first house that he finds, he knocks on the door, and the door is opened by a very beautiful young girl. The moment he sees her, he's mesmerized. He falls in love with her, and he decides he wants to marry her. So he was about to ask for water, but he has forgotten everything, and he says, I want to meet your father. I want to marry you. The father is the head of that village. So the girl takes him to her father, and he meets. The father agrees. Narada marries the girl. He settles down in the same village, starts his own business, and they're very happy, very harmonious, happy married life. They have 3 children, and life was going on beautifully. Suddenly there was this huge cyclone that comes into the village. The river that flows through the village starts flooding, and there's a huge deluge, and people are washed away, houses are being washed away, and Narada and his family is also caught in that. Narada puts the youngest one on top of his shoulder. The other one he holds in his hand. He's holding on to a pole to keep because the water flow was so much. His wife was holding on to him. She was holding on to another child. But the flow was so fast that one child got pulled along. And when the wife saw the child being pulled away, she left holding on to Narada and went after the child. And in all this, he also got so distracted that the other child got pulled away. And this child also fell down. Narada was completely distraught. He didn't know what to do. He just let go of the pole and went after the family. They were all being washed away, and Narada also got washed away. After some time, he heard the voice saying, Narada, Narada. He wakes up. He's lying down on the bank of a river. He looks up. There was Narayan. He said, half an hour back, I sent you to get a glass of water for me. What are you doing sleeping here? Narada doesn't understand what happened. What seemed like a lifetime was just half an hour. That is what happens with each one of us. We are so caught up in this world of duality, in this Maya. It seems like so long, so real, but it is all just that. Yeah. So, but then that's how it is. Even avatars, Master, Swamiji, whoever come on this planet have to go through this. Krishna was born in a prison, and all his life he had to face so many challenges. He even had to shift his kingdom to Dwarka because of all the challenges. Master had so many challenges, right? When he was very young, his mother passed away. And even when he came, he set up SRF. His very dear childhood friend betrayed him, took him to court. Almost the SRF was to, I mean, he was about to get bankrupt. So many challenges. Swamiji had so many challenges. He had to let go of his master's organization, Ananda village that he set up, that caught fire. All that they had put in, the effort, uh, the money invested, everything just went up in fire. There were so many court cases, so many health issues Swamiji had to face. Sister Gyan Mata, the most uh, uh, dear woman disciple of Master, she had so many health challenges. Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he had throat cancer. All of them suffered. But then we can say, oh, but they are masters. They wouldn't even know they're suffering. But what about us, the normal people? So there was this lady in SRF with Master, and he was telling her to do something. And she said, no, no, Master, I can't do it. He said, why can't you do it? When I can do it, why can't you? She said, but you are a master. He said, what do you think made me a master? It's because I never gave up. That's what it is. Sister Gyan Mata once wrote to a devotee. She said that our master is a self-realized master. What use is this information to any of us if we don't make the same effort? The masters don't come us to show how great they were, or how what all they can achieve. That's not their purpose. They come to show our potential, each one of us, what can we achieve, what can we do. That is what it is all about. So what kind of attitude we need to watch, what kind of attitude these masters had despite what was going around them, and that is what we need to imbibe. We might fail, that's okay, we are still learning. The whole point is to get up and try again. So there is this story of King Janaka. Vedavyas, who was also the author of the great book Mahabharata epic, his son Shuka, he very young, he was ready for self-realization. So Vedavyas was his first guru. He later said that, I think you need to learn some more. So he sends him, you need another guru. So he sends him to King Janak. Shuka feels, what will a king teach me? A person who is so, living in luxury, and he walks into the kingdom and he sees King Janaka sitting in his palace with dancers dancing, people singing, and too much luxury. He says, what's wrong with my father? How did he send me to this such a person? And but then father has sent him, he has to be respected. So he goes there, and King Janak gives him various tests. King Janaka realizes that he is judging him. So he lets him be, and he gives him various other tests. Finally, the last test he gives, he is there in the palace, they're sitting. Shuka has all the scriptures around him, and Janaka is talking about some very inspiring things. And suddenly this guard runs in and tells the king, "Oh king, there is a fire, major fire broke out in the kingdom." Janak doesn't bother. He keeps talking. After some time, the guards run in again. Now it has come into the palace, king. Janak doesn't bother. He continues with his discourse. Shuka doesn't know what is happening. And slowly he's watching. Shuka is now completely distracted. He's watching all around. There's fire all around him. And he's saying, what is wrong with this king? There is fire all around. He's continuing with his discourse. Finally, the fire starts coming into the room they are sitting in, and Shuka is now completely worried. He immediately gets up, grabs his belongings, the books and all, and he's about to run. Janak says, stay right there. He doesn't understand what's wrong with him. And then suddenly the fire goes away. And Janak says, you have this little bit of books, the scriptures, and you are so worried about your position. My whole kingdom was getting burnt. Did I move? So that's when Shuka understood the greatness of King Janaka and why his father sent him. That even when he seemed outwardly, he seemed to have all materialistic pleasures, yet inwardly he was completely inward, detached from all of this. So Sister Gyan Mata, as I mentioned, she had a lot of problems, physical ailments that she was going through. And one day she stood before the altar, and she knew there was another she was having this fear, apprehension of some impending trouble that she was going to go through. And she was praying, and she says that, oh, the prayer that came to her finally was, change no circumstance of my life, change me. That is what it is all. Circumstances, we have no control over what is happening around us. We don't even have any control over people we are closest to. So what is that one thing that we have control over? Ourselves. So Master says, just work on yourselves. Don't bother what is happening around you. So what are the things, the attitudes that I have been talking about? What are that will help us to stand unshaken despite all that is going around? The first thing that we did just now, the affirmation, acceptance. Accept things as they are. There's this beautiful story that Devi ji told in the last satsang in conversation with when they had it with Abhishek, and about this lady. There was some function going on, and Master gave a red rose to this lady, and this lady said, "But Master, I like pink rose." And Master said, "What I give, you take." And Deviji was telling that, when the whole Ananda village, there was this fire and everything burned down. And Jyotishji and Deviji had an 11-day-old son, and their house got burned. Everything inside that house was gone. And, at moments you feel, oh, what is this? And then she says that, then I remembered what Master said, what I give, you take. Everything, not just the good things, but everything you accept. And Master tells another story of the saint who used to throw stones at people. Whoever would come, he would throw stones at them. Some people got very annoyed with him. He said, what he's throwing stones at us. But there were some who accepted those stones also and picked them up as blessings from the saint and took them home. And when they went home, they found that these stones had turned into gold. So the whole point is, especially those of us who are on this path, we should accept whatever is coming as coming from God and our masters. We don't understand. Many of them we don't understand. That's another thing that we need to do. The lessons, we know that these are all some lessons that we need to learn, but we don't know what it is. We don't understand. Pray to Master. I don't understand what it is. Help me understand the lesson that I need to learn. Because Masters only give those karma, those tests that are necessary for us, for our own spiritual growth. There was this monk, Swamiji tells the story, when he one day told them that, I was sleeping and I had this dream that I was on this bank of ocean or river, and I was, shoveling away a lot of muck and throwing it away, and doing a lot of hard work doing that. Then I realized that this was all my past life karma, and I was trying to clear them all up. But then I started hearing a huge vehicle kind of, bulldozer kind of thing sound. And I looked back and I noticed that Master was in that, shoveling with that machine. He was shoveling huge mountains of those, the muck that I was shoveling with a small shovel. That's what Masters do for us. They are actually removing the mountains away and only letting us do what we can and what is necessary for our own spiritual growth. And other thing that we can do is meditate deeply during, especially during these times when the whole world is in despair and fear. We don't need to add to that consciousness. Instead, let us all go in deep, meditate deeply, because in meditation we actually add more to uplifting the consciousness. Without, we might be thinking, oh, what am I doing, what is my meditation? But each one of us can contribute towards that, especially those of us who are kriya bans. We do our kriyas every day very deeply. As Lahiri Mahashaya, whenever anybody went to him with any problem, he would say, do more kriya, because kriya really helps us to clear away a lot of karma. And there were people, it was so heartening to see this last few weeks where people were doing kriya for others so that they can help people who are suffering. So the more we are in that giving mode, the more we feel uplifted. Everybody can feel uplifted by being in that giving, rather than what is in it for me, what is happening to me, despairing. And again, the last few weeks, people were praying for others, because, and these are the ways we can bring in the blessings. Master said, the channel is blessed by what flows through it. So let us be very conscious of what is flowing through me. Is it fear, anger by what is happening, resentment? Oh, why is this? Being victim? Do we want to be channels for that? Or do we want to be the channels for blessings, for the Divine Mother's energy to flow through us into all those souls who are suffering, who are in need? Gratitude. Offering our gratitude for all that is happening to us, the good, the bad, everything, accepting one. First we accept and offer our gratitude. The fact that whatever we are in this position is that God and gurus are taking conscious effort for us. They are present in our life. The very fact that they are there for us is a matter to feel gratitude. There have been a lot of experiments, and various scientists have been doing a lot of experiments. They have done brain imaging and all, and all of them said that gratitude is one very important attitude that helps in the psychological wellness of people, that helps them to shift their consciousness to happiness. It has that power. And what is emotions? The emotions are basically energy in motion. And where do we want it? Do we want our energy to sink down with fear, anger, resentment, which also creates a very acidic environment, vibration inside our body, susceptible to diseases? Or do we want to keep it uplifted with happiness, gratitude, giving, kindness, generosity? That creates an alkaline vibration environment in the body that resists, that is immune to the diseases. And at this moment, this is what is more needed, the very positive vibrations that we can give out to keep ourselves surrounded with positive vibrations, affirmations, chanting, practicing the presence of God and gurus. This is something very important. Master has said, those who think me near, I will be near. This is something, it's a promise of a self-realized master. Let us remember this. And in all the moments, not really just the difficult moments, every moment, let us try to be in the vibrations of our gurus. Any master, you at that moment, you're feeling, more you resonate with. We have a lot of them. There's Sri Yukteswar, there is our own master, Lahiri Mahashaya, Babaji. Let us be in their vibrations, practice the presence, their presence around us all the time. And Krishna said a very important thing in Bhagavad Gita, O Arjuna, get away from my ocean of suffering. This Maya, this world is made for that only, for us to go through these ups and downs. It's an ocean of suffering. So our job is to make efforts that we can get away from it. What is the point of every time we think, oh, this time this thing went wrong, if only that had happened, but then next time something else will go wrong. So the whole point is to get away from it all, be liberated. Master said that when perfection is reached, you are free. And I will end it with the story. It is of a saint in India. He was a very highly evolved soul. So this angel comes to him in his astral chariot and tells him that the gods are pleased with you. So you have been given the boon to go into the astral plane in this physical body itself. So the saint says, oh, that's very nice. Thank you. That's very kind of you. But I would like to know, because in this world of duality, for every good, there is always a bad. I'm sure there must be something like that in your world also, in your astral world. So tell me, what are the advantages of going with you if I were to come? The angel is surprised. He says, that's a very unusual question you're asking me. But since you asked, I have to answer you. He said, that's that astral world. It's beautiful environment, serene, harmony. There is, everybody lives in harmony. You can, commune with all the gods, and so the angels are all there, and you'll be feeling very happy and harmonious. But then says, okay, now you tell me that's very nice, but now you tell me what are the disadvantages. So the angel says, nobody has ever asked me such a question. They are very pleased when we come and tell them, come on, I'm taking you to heaven. You're the first person asking me this. But since you asked, I need to answer you. So he said, you can stay there as long as your good karma allows you to stay there. And, it can be few years or thousands of years you can enjoy being there. But once your good karma is finished, you need to come back. Because then you'll start feeling sadness, because now you will be getting away from that beautiful environment, and then you have to come back to finish off whatever is left. The saint says, see, you told me a good thing that I will be going there. And he also said that when you are there in that astral world, you will not be making any spiritual progress. You will be happy. You'll be meeting all these angels and all, but you will not make any progress. For that, you have to come back to earth and to work it out. The saint asks, is there a place beyond this? He says, yes, even gods want to go there, but that is why they also make efforts to come and be born on earth, so that they can work it off and move to that plane where there is nothing. I mean, you're beyond everything, the place where the infinite dwells. The saint says, thank you very much. You came and gave me this offer, but no, I will not come. I will stay here and try to be beyond everything. So let us all remember that this earth is the place that also allows us to go to work out our karmas, to go beyond this duality and be liberated, be Jivan Mukta, where you never have to come back again. Let us all aim towards that. And in doing, till then, we follow, be in the presence of God, gurus, do all the spiritual discipline that we need to do, meditate, pray for others, offer our gratitude. And as Shashank read today from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, oh Arjuna, know this for certainty. My devotee is never lost. Now I invite Sunny. We'll do the Aarti and we will end with a healing prayer. Let's offer our gratitude to the Divine Mother and pray for all those souls who are in need. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in their bodies, their minds, their souls. Oh. 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 Divine Mother, may thy love shine on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to share thy love with all whom we meet. We are thine Mother. Be thou eternally ours. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Joy to you all. Thank you for joining us.